What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Tournament Tactics. It's the playoffs, wild card round. And we're talking, so we had a little roundtable behind the scenes, and we decided to focus in on the Sunday 3-game slate. Very exciting, very sexy. The funnest of all the slates, I think, this weekend.
I agree.
Yeah, you get a 3-gamer. 3-gamer is gold. And before we even get into like the DFS breakdown, of course, I'm going to introduce the Tri-Goat community here. Burns down below, the Shark Lab himself, studying Millie Maker lineups all season long in the lab. Of course, Bobby Millions, 2-time Millie Maker winner, walks around with a wallet so heavy he now has scoliosis. The doctors have asked him to hold less of the money bags in the pockets because of the scoliosis. And then you guys are aware of this? Like your kid goes to school, they wear a backpack, and then you get told your kid has scoliosis from that fucking heavy backpack. That's Bobby with the money bags. And then, of course, Josiah, the GPP leverage maniac himself, never met chalk that he didn't want to toss out in favor of leverage. So we got the crew together. Bobby, I hope your back is feeling okay.
Yeah, I can't get over the fact that we've discovered that old women love Josiah. I think we need to talk about that a little bit.
I'm not going to say old women, mature ladies.
Mature women, mature ladies.
Mature ladies are obsessed with Josiah. We've been finding this out.
Those fucking cougs, man.
I get it. I personally get it. But Josiah is just all embarrassed about it. But I think it's awesome. He's a MILF magnet.
No comment.
A little bit of a GILF magnet, if I'm being honest. GILF.
I mean, I'll take what I can get. Still single. So.
All right. So anyway, we're going to focus in on the Sunday only slate. And I want to, for those of you who are DFS Army subscribers and who have the VIP, and if you don't, make sure you sign up with promo code GILF. That gets you 10% off. Anybody with that promo code goes directly to Josiah on the credits. But yeah, so for DFS Army VIPs, this week we had a little bit of fun. 2.5 hour long live streams where we back tested theory for 2 and 3 game slates. Okay. And we figured out some things. We'll talk about that a little bit, but we figured out some approaches, some you gotta put that. We figured out some things and some approaches that you can use that really will help give you an opportunity to be in the right place to take down a tournament in 2 and 3 game approaches. So, of course, for a mass multi-entry, we're going to employ a lot of those things, strategic fades, certain numbers of uniques, certain max limits across all these different areas that we noticed had a higher than usual level of winning. And so I implore everybody from DFS Army, if you can, to check out. You don't have to sit through it for 2.5 hours, or put it in 2x speed. You can knock it out, but really learn something and do back testing on the Dom Station Optimizer alongside those streams, so you get the feeling, oh, this is how it works. And it's almost like, to me, I kind of think of it like exercising, where you keep like repeating the same motions, and then your body just gets used to these motions, right? Well, we're training our mind certain settings and certain approaches with a little bit of adjustment, and you got to do it again and again and again and again. And then as soon as the slate rolls out, 2-game slate, boom, I know what to do here. 3-game slate, like you see the chalk and you're like, I want to go all in, but I will fade it because that's what you're supposed to do. So stuff like that, really good stuff. But I want to take a look and focus in on the Sunday slate and see if we could come up with some thoughts, some ideas, some concepts, some tournament approaches, and all of that. So let's get into it. And on screen, I am bringing up the DFS Army Domination Station Optimizer. I'm using this primarily because I can sort by projected ownership, and it's a pretty nice little way of kind of seeing it on screen. So yeah, optimizers are for noobs. All right. So this is the domination station, and let's take a look at the quarterback position, guys, and just take a look at what we're looking at for this weekend. And already, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm seeing some surprise. I don't know if this is surprising. This is surprising to you. So Daniel Jones and Josh Allen about the same, 22%.
I mean, it makes sense.
Does it?
What are you saying?
I'm with Joe Burrow close behind. Does it make sense?
Yeah. I think it. I mean, I hate to say it, but it does. Danny Dimes has looked really good. That is a discount right there. That's over $2,000 in savings, and DJ gets to match up against one of the worst defenses in the league. I think it does make it's startling, but it makes some sense on paper.
Like, I wish Daniel Jones was low owned, because then it would make this slate so much easier. But it makes sense that he is this popular in my mind, at least.
When I prep my my cheat sheet for the slate on Tuesday and Wednesday, I don't have ownerships projections out yet. Generally, purposefully, because I want to get my own takes on things before I start to see what the field is going to do. And I think I wrote in my notes, I really hope it's sneaky to play Daniel Jones. I don't know yet, and to be high on him. So when I looked at the slate, my top two were Josh Allen pay up, Daniel Jones pay down. I think it's relatively obvious. With Josh Allen, so I'm going to give my reasoning, and I want to get the roundtable thoughts on. I know we're focusing in on. Of course, we like Josh Allen. He's great. He's Josh Allen. But what I looked at was, all right, Josh Allen in a blowout. I absolutely expect the Bills to maul the Dolphins. I'm taking Bills minus 13. No problem laying the 13. They're going to maul them. Skylar Thompson, these rookies are not designed for, playing in a playoff game on the road. You're asking too much of any human being, especially one that didn't look very good in general as the starter. So it's not like this guy was looking good. So what I looked up was, how has Josh Allen performed in blowouts? And I want the opinion of the round table here, because generally I like to avoid quarterbacks in scenarios where they're absolutely not going to be needed. And I don't think, the Bills don't need Josh Allen to throw a lot to win this game. But historically this season in blowouts, like a 38-3 win against the Steelers and 2 or 3 other blowouts like that, he definitely scored 30 plus, including that Steelers 39-pointer. So do you guys think we should ignore what he's done in the past and play my inclination is concern about a blowout quarterback? Or should we say, look what this guy does in blowouts. The Bills aren't going to throw the football anyway, so who cares? What are your takes on it, BobbyWow?
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised Josh Allen isn't 50% projected ownership. He does everything. He does it all. If they are blowing the Dolphins out, he's going to be a big reason why. And look, this is a playoff game. You don't mess around in playoff games. You don't get cute with 21-point leads. You are playing to win, and you are playing with the gas pedal all the way down. I have no issues with the blowout factor, which I agree, Geek. I think it's going to be a mauling. But again, I think Josh Allen plays a huge role in that, and I am not scared a single ounce of Josh Allen and the blowout.
I agree with you. I think he's on their own. Burns, what do you think on this scenario? Blowouts situation, obviously huge team total for the Bills.
Well, we got to play it. I mean, right now with 3 games, 2 game slates, we're looking at raw points. We don't really care about, the valuation of the player and the points that they're going to put up. It's all about the raw score that they come up with. So who is going to get you the most points? Is it going to be Allen? Is it going to be Danny Dimes? I kind of lean towards Allen more often than not, 90% of the time, right? 9 times out of 10, I'm going to go with Allen. But there's always that 1% chance that Danny Dimes could get it done. But I'd rather have that security there with Allen.
I would give Dimes more than a 1% chance of outscoring him. But I don't know where I'm putting it, but it's more than 1%. Yeah. But I get what you're saying. Josiah, what do you think here? It's weird. Josh Allen projected for 23%.
I wish there was a reason I could try and find to fade him, just like everyone else has said. But the matchup against the Dolphins is also a fantastic one as well. They've been really bad against quarterbacks all year. And like you said, in blowouts, even last year, like Josh Allen, they don't try and slow it down. They just keep the pedal down. So Josh Allen is someone that I plan on having a lot of exposure to. Quarterback is not where I'm trying to get cute this week.
They will not lean run on the Bills no matter what's going on in the game. And it's just for that reason alone, he puts up big numbers. I love it as well. Let's jump back over to here and kind of take a look at the game tiles just to really kind of emphasize this point. Miami's got this 15-point team total. No likey. I don't like this one bit. The other turd team right here are the Ravens. 16-point total, effectually an ineffective offense with a terrible quarterback. It might be Huntley. Or do we know for sure?
I don't think we know for sure yet. I think it will be Huntley, I think, but it's not confirmed.
Huntley, this is an important differential. So I do want to mention this about that game. Like Huntley is at least mildly competent to the point where we might be able to play Mark Andrews. Just generally on the slate. If this goes to Anthony Brown, if that's the name of that dude, then we're talking no go, no zero. Oh, Huntley practicing in full. So yeah, Huntley keeping it quiet. Yeah, Harbaugh keeping it. Yeah, pulling shenanigans. But let's assume it's Huntley, because if it wasn't Huntley, this is another massive blowout situation, but also we couldn't touch any player on this entire slate on the Ravens. I think with Huntley in there, I think there is some reasonable playability to, even Mark Andrews and Robinson, Demarcus Robinson.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind. But when we take a look at these games, guys, I mean, there's one game that stands out. So just addressing the Bengals situation, I think Burrow is less likely to smash in a blowout relative to Josh Allen. And the reason being, the Bengals will lean on the run when they're ahead big in a game. Like they have no issue leaning on the run. That's something that the Bills will never do. The Bengals have the running backs to do it. They have two guys now, so they can go little back and forth. Are we more concerned? Like, give me your thoughts, and we'll go around again on Joe Burrow at quarterback. Again, most likely in a blowout, but doesn't have the history of smashing in blowouts that maybe Josh Allen does.
Yeah, I'm worried about Joe Burrow. I'm certainly not overly excited to roster him. I think the reality is, look, even with Lamar, this Ravens team likes to be methodical. They like to slow the pace down. Without Lamar, it's even worse. So I think right off the bat, you're going to see significant lower time of possession for the Bengals offense, which, blowout or not, that's concerning to me from a fantasy football point scoring perspective. So no, I don't love Burrow. I think he's in a salary zone. He's in a little bit of a bizarre zone. And I just think his ceiling is limited significantly given the matchup.
I mean, they just played this matchup like 3 days ago, and it didn't go that well.
Yeah.
But again, that was, it's hard to really compare. It's hard to compare because it was a game they were trying to win, but the Ravens were really dead in the water in that one, even deader than they are now. But he only put up 12 points, so it's not a good sign. But Burrow, for me, is my third favorite on the slate, even though I don't love him that much. He's definitely number 3 or maybe 4. I guess it depends how you see Kirk Cousins. But I think order-wise, Josh Allen, sort of the chalky good play, but not chalk because he's the same ownership as the other guys, but the obvious. So in cash or that kind of thing, I guess it'd be Allen. Daniel Jones, and I want to talk about Daniel Jones now in the third game. I think we could throw away Skylar Thompson. I think we could throw away Huntley probably as well and just get rid of it. Huntley's
a get cute, silly for the Millie. If you're going to get silly, go Huntley instead of Skylar, but I'm with you, Geek. Yeah, it's ugly down there.
Yeah, I want to get silly. I'd probably go Huntley. Yeah, I agree with that. So let's address the high total game here and the players in it and some of the details here. So we got the Giants at the Vikings indoor. love a dome in the winter. No weather. The Vikings are the team that have made dreams come true for opposing quarterbacks and especially wide receivers. And I'm going to give you guys a stat. Okay, the Vikings as a team have allowed the most fantasy points per game, above average expectation, to opposing wide receivers on the season. There is no worse team against the pass. Sorry, DFS up north. I know you love the Vikings. Sorry, Kanger. No, you're in there. Your Vikings can't stop the pass, bro. And it's not my fault. I don't make the stats. I just read them here, but they can't stop the pass. Here, let's pop this up on the screen. And you'll see what I'm talking about. Here we go. Wait a minute. Get that going. So the Vikings can't stop the pass. Minnesota. Here we go. They're allowing 7.6 fantasy points above average to opposing wide receivers. I mean, is there anything more screaming? When you play the Giants or you stack Daniel Jones with one or two pass catchers, you're effectively starting with such a cheap stack that you can do whatever the hell Justin Jefferson, all the studs can get in that lineup with you. It looks the best out of any approach for starting a lineup this week. It just does. So let's take a look at the Giants defensively. So we see that the Vikings allowing almost 4 points above mean to opposing quarterbacks. Not very good against running backs, but horrible against wide receivers. And if we see the Giants here, they're pretty milquetoast average defense. There's nothing that stands out here at anything. They're just average, NFL average. So players can be expected to do what they normally do when they play against the Giants. Against that backdrop, I think we already talked about we like Daniel Jones. How do you guys feel about Kirk Cousins on the slate? How important is Kirk Cousins' exposure to you, Burns?
He'll be in my pool. He did actually have a good game against the Giants the last time they played in the same environment at home. And it came down to a 3-point field goal. So at the end of the game, he will be in my player pool. He's attractive in this spot. I mean, the Giants aren't that great of a defense. Their secondary is okay. Dory Jackson and Fabian Moreau are good, but JJ is going to take the top off. And Hawk is going to take the top off. So I will have him stacked with Hawk and JJ all day. I don't know if I want to go with Thielen or Osborne. Osborne was my play last week. Sorry. I'm not going there again this week with him.
Worked out just fine. KJ.
Yeah.
Good play last week. Did not do much against the Giants.
He won't do much against the Giants.
Well, and tell me why.
When you get in the playoffs, you just roster your studs and let the DS fill everything in behind it. Now, stud in this game is Justin Jefferson. Stud in this game is Hawkinson. That's it. You roster those two guys.
Dalvin Cook is no longer a stud.
I mean, he's fringe stud. I mean, give him another year and he may not be at the stud level.
Josiah thinks he's a stud. Wait.
I was like, that was a heck of a take. We're not even at running backs yet. And you're like, get him out of here.
I want him out of the stud zone. He doesn't count.
He's starting to fall more and more every year. But he's still at that fringe line stud zone.
Okay, that's fair. And yes, that is a really great point that you just made that I want to emphasize throughout the show. One of the things I talk about throughout the year, and I've always loved NFL playoff DFS. This has been like a thing for many, many years, primarily because the teams go and do a little bit pretty much what you expect them to do. There's no screwing around. There's no, as you said earlier, BobbyWow, there's no resting up with a lead of 21. You're going all in. You're not trying to see what you have in KJ Osborne. You're like, no, throw it to Justin Jefferson. We're trying to win a game. Oh, I've got a hot take, by the way. You ready for this?
Uh-oh.
No.
A turd hat hot take.
Uh-oh.
Ooh.
James Cook outscores Dalvin Cook.
Okay.
That is that's a hot take right there.
Woo!
James Cook outscores his brother. I'm seeing some chat here, but that's what I'm saying. All right, so let's digress. Giants. We got the ultimate matchup for Daniel Jones. We got to stack him. Who are we stacking him with? 3 wide receivers: Slayton, Hodgins, Rick James.
Yep.
Any preferences? And Burns, is there any matchup-based reasoning where you might favor? I think these 3 guys are the ultimate dice roll. No clue. And actually, they lowered the Slayton salary to the point where now they're all basically the same price. I have no idea. As a matter of fact, let's pull up some tools.
It's not gonna like them.
And see, but like, there's nothing. Oh, of course, I deleted my tool, but here, I'll get that going. I'm gonna get the matchup sheet going. But is there any way that we can differentiate with this trio? And you can tell me, Burns, Kev, you know what? You want to play Rick James or somebody else? Let me know. How do I figure this out? Who of the 3 is good?
Well, I would probably have to go with the fact that Isaiah Hodgins and Darius Slayton towards the conclusion of the season, in the regular season, we're seeing more of the target share. And Hodgins was even seeing considerable more in some games versus all the other trash wide receivers that my Giants have. I mean, it's not a great wide receiver room. I'm hoping and praying that they get Najee from the Buckeyes, but who knows? But I think your stack partner is one of these wide receivers and Saquon. Saquon exploded in this game with 27.3 points the last time they played. So that's my stack partners. And I don't even actually, to tell you the truth, I think your lower owned play in this game outside of the wide receivers is probably going to be Daniel Bellinger. I think he has a very good opportunity in this game to actually be unlooked by other DFSers. Yes, we're projecting in the teens, but when you look at the teens versus Mark Andrews, who I will fade this week, I think Mark Andrews is in a very difficult situation against the Cincinnati Bengals. So that's going to lead me towards going with guys like Hawkinson, Dawson Knox, Daniel Bellinger in this week. So I'm not high on Andrews this week, and I don't like Huntley with him, and I don't like the 3rd string quarterback either. So
I mean, it's way worse with the 3rd string quarterback. Full fadeable.
So many shots.
Huntley at least had one game with Andrews that was useful.
But I don't know. I mean, I don't really see it. I don't see the Andrews play exploding. So now watch it go off.
That's not exactly a game I'm looking to get a ton of exposure to. You know, like, I'm not trying to get exposure to the Ravens offense. It's really just a one-off. BobbyWow, what do you say?
Yeah, I think the one thing I'll add to the Danny Dimes conversation is do not feel the need to stack him with more than 1. Do not feel the need to go 2+ on Danny Dimes. I really think it is a dice roll. I think all 3 wide receivers could, they all have an opportunity to have a really nice game. It's hard for me to imagine 2 of them exploding in the same game. I think if Danny Dimes is getting there, he's doing it at least a decent amount with his legs. So I like the idea of going with 1 wide receiver. I love the call for Belly Burns. I think that's interesting, but I'm not going to go out of my way to stack him with 2+. That's all I'll say.
That's fair. Josiah, thoughts on
I agree with all of that wisdom. I liked it. I have a decent chunk of Jones, but he's right underneath Allen. So nothing too crazy for me.
There we go. And for me, so to kind of finish up the wide receiver group, I have no interest in Skylar Thompson. As you can see, I've already unfriended him days ago.
I think there's a decent chance Teddy Bridgewater ends up in the game anyway, but either way, no thanks.
It's not going to look good no matter what. I assume if Bridgewater's not playing, I assume he's too hurt to play.
Yeah.
Something like that. And Tyler Huntley, very favorable here.
I would be open to taking a shot on Tyler Huntley if it wasn't his shoulder injury his throwing arm that was hurt. Like his shoulder of his throwing arm, that just scares me off of the guy. And he's been awful all year. It's just doesn't feel like the spot.
The other thing in the playoffs, there's pressure to play, right?
Yeah.
And like we saw with Mike White, what happens when a player has pressure to play with an injury? They might play and we think it's fine, and then they look like shit because they're hurt and they can't play well. And so that is definitely in play with Huntley here. If he's been getting banged up, you know, like the guy can't last. Sucks to suck, but like he can't last. And it's how many times are you going to be knocked out of it? These backup quarterbacks, when you get your chance, you can't be getting hurt, guys.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be getting hurt because that's your chance.
Easier said than done, though.
Yeah, but that's your chance and you blew it.
I did want to go back on a statement I said. I said I had Josh Allen, then Daniel Jones, was actually Josh Allen, Kirk Cousins, Daniel Jones, then a little bit of Joe Burrow for me.
Okay, that's your,
and
you have Cousins ahead of.
Yeah, and the only reason I'm doing that is because I do like Daniel Jones. The spot makes a ton of sense, but I don't like playing Daniel Jones a ton when he's popular, so I'm just kind of matching the field on him. And then Kirk Cousins at slightly lower ownership, I'm boosting up to my second spot and then getting double the field or close to it leverage on Allen.
Yeah, that's fair. And getting a ton of Allen. Listen, Danny Jones chalk is a little scary chalk, but I do want to say this about Daniel, and I'm rocking Giants blue today.
Uh-oh.
In honor of the upset, as well as Bills blue. Like, hey, I'm trying to be on the winning teams. But my thought, I think we saw little Danny Jones turn into a man in week 17. I saw a transformation.
Little Danny. Yeah,
little Danny Dimes is now big Dan Nichols. You know, like, I don't know.
I think I knew where your brain was going there.
Danny Quarters. You know what I mean? Like, he turned into a man. Like, they're winning, and he's like, no, give it to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, Saquon Barkley, get out of here. He's rushing. You know, they're up 38-7. He's like, I don't care. Let's go. You know, he's diving head first. I'm like, this is something. I don't know what I'm seeing here, but this is not expected. And if I see that same quarterback show up for the playoffs, and why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he do that same stuff? Aggressive running, head first diving, give me the ball. I love it. And I saw something, you know, my league mates in dynasty leagues, my vulture ones, the ones that come out only at the worst time, you know, like there's that person that all of a sudden got in my DMs. Hey man, I'm looking to, like they're pretending like they don't like him. Like, I need a third quarterback, just a little backup in case my guys get hurt. You know, you're interested in trading Daniel Jones? I'm like, wait, what? Now all of a sudden you want to trade for Daniel Jones, you know, like, and of course they start with the whole, oh no, it's just a third. Why, you know, just in case for bye weeks, I need somebody, and you know, and they give the lowballers started making me offers for Daniel Jones. I'm like, they saw it too. Okay, it's not just me. So be on the lookout, man. Giants are a dark horse. That'll sound really stupid next week if they get destroyed, but I think Giants are a dark horse to win maybe a game or two here in the playoffs.
Some of us, Geek, have been seeing Danny Dimes for a long time now. We've seen this coming for a while.
Yeah, I've been on that train.
You
just needed the right coach.
You're just an eternal optimist, BobbyWow. You like everybody. You still think Zach Wilson is going to turn it around.
That's not true. Disagree.
That was the line. That had to be the line.
Not that. That's too. All right, we took it too far. That's
not
fair.
Too far.
That's fair. Okay, so let's talk about the running back group here, and it is ugly at running back in my opinion. I don't think you're going to see 3 running backs in the nuts lineup this week. I doubt it. I'm not disallowing it based on my research. You should not disallow anything in the way that salaries work out on a 2-game slate. Weird shit happens. But right at the top of the group is Saquon Barkley. And then we get a weird, you know, some ownership things here that are concerning. So Dalvin Cook and Joe Mixon, effectively the same ownership as Barkley. 30%. Now, I'm just going to talk about these two guys. Number one, Dalvin Cook. He's expensive and he hasn't been doing it. I mean, aside from Josiah, no one else thinks he's a stud.
This is the week. This is the type of week where Dalvin Cook comes back to bite everybody. Like you keep talking about it, Geek, and I think you're right on. The playoffs, this is where you lean on your playmakers, regardless of how they've performed throughout the season. The Vikings, look, the Giants are good. They're better than everyone thinks. The Vikings are going to need Dalvin Cook if they want to win this game. I think Dalvin Cook, it'd be surprising if he was still the highest owned running back on the slate. I just think there's something there where this is the time where he rekindles some of that magic. So I am with Josiah. I think this could be one of those Dalvin Cook games that leaves everyone saying, dang it, I wish I just would have stuck with him.
I don't trust him.
Every year, there's always one running back like that who we know is a stud. It's usually Derrick Henry, and people are like, yeah, he's probably not going to be the guy. And he ends up being low owned, and then he just keeps rumbling on. And you're like, dang it, why didn't I play Derrick Henry? I'm debating if that's Dalvin Cook or Joe Mixon today. That's the question for me. Which one is it? I'm leaning towards it being Mixon, but it's scary. It's scary.
Ooh.
I'll tell you what I'm leaning towards, but I'm leaning towards
I'm leaning towards it being Cook, and I'm avoiding Mixon. That's what I meant.
I'm leaning towards getting extra exposure to some of these other guys and catching an accidental lightning in a bottle. But I generally think running back is going to be a difficult thing to navigate this week. It will be where the money is made, I believe. So that's my overview. Burns, running back position, Saquon Barkley seems really obvious. Good matchup for him. Great. Like, he's Saquon. He usually actually doesn't produce. We can also throw away the fact that, like, I don't think we'll get 28 or 30 out of Saquon. He usually doesn't get us those kind of numbers, but we don't need the 4X in the same way that you do on a main slate for a 3-game. You just kind of need a good score. It doesn't have to be 4X salary. But Burns, what do you think of the RB position overall?
It's very top heavy, right? We got our top guys. Saquon's in a very good spot. I mean, Dalvin is he's in a great spot too. The Giants they're a good defense this year. But I think Dalvin can actually do good things against them. I really like the spot for Mixon. I think last week he had 17 points against the same defense, but this is playoffs, and I think they're going to need to lean on him a little bit more than they did last week. They went to Boyd a lot last week, where, that's week 18. They had Jamar in there as well. Jamar took the top off of this Baltimore defense on multiple plays. I really think it could be a Mixon week this week. It's kind of leaning towards that, where he's going to start to take off, and they need him for the playoffs to make this team move.
Take a notice that Samaje Perine last week split the snaps almost 50-50.
Yeah, but it was week 18. I wouldn't put much stock in that.
And it was kind of a blowout situation as well.
Yeah.
We're ignoring Samaje.
He should be in your pool, but I wouldn't put much stock in him in that. They're going to go with the studs. They got to go with the guys that they know can actually produce. Samaje's produced, but he's done it in roles where Mixon has not been in the game, and in blowout scenarios like he did last week. So I'd have more faith in Mixon blowing up than Samaje. Let's just put it that way.
All right, so let's go around and talk about so you have those 3 brand name players, right? Of course, everybody knows Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook, and Saquon Barkley. And if I was playing just one, I think Saquon stands head and shoulders above the other 2 for me. Just again, Dalvin Cook, not much passing game work. Joe Mixon, I don't know, hasn't done it this year. Like, there's no evidence. He has one 55-point game, which is like the most incredible explosion ever in the history of fantasy. And then the whole rest of the seasons are between 8 to 16 points, like never quite enough. And Dalvin Cook's not that different. He's been Mr. under 20 fantasy points all year long. So outside of a couple of exceptions. So I think the bust potential is high for both Cook and Joe Mixon. So, but you have to have 2 at least. So going around under this zone, talk to me about your takes on James Cook and Singletary, Dobbins and Samaj, and that's about it for me. But I can't think of anybody else. But I'll start with you, Burns. Do you have any sort of outside of the big 3? Are you kind of leaning any way? I like James Cook.
Yeah, I like Buffalo's running game in this one. I actually like Miami too. I like Jeff Wilson in this game as well. Um, I was really hoping that we could see J.K. Dobbins last week in this matchup because I really wanted to see how he could actually perform with a subpar quarterback, needing to utilize him as the go-to guy. But he sat out last week. Don't leave him out of your player pool. He could actually explode in this game very, very well. He's a pretty good running back all the way back to the days that he was with OSU. So that's where I would put my stock into.
I haven't thought too hard about J.K. Dobbins because I thought it was
Mostert's out this week.
Is that official?
Yeah, it's on DraftKings too.
Okay, so official out. Mostert does bring Jeff Wilson Jr. into the mix as, again, not somebody I'm going to go crazy with in that matchup, but still a starting running back on a team that needs to run heavy to have any hope of being involved in this game. Although I also think they'll be down huge early, but they could throw to him. So whatever. Josiah, how are you going at running back?
Yeah, I mean, the J.K. Dobbins call is how I felt about Daniel Jones with you. I thought, man, Dobbins might be sneaky, but Burns is mentioning him. He's looking at around 18% ownership. Guess not that sneaky.
18% is, I guess that's as low as it goes, at running back on a 3-gamer.
Yeah.
For starter.
But for me, I have Barkley up top, like you said. Then it's Cook, Mixon, and then I have J.K. Dobbins right there in my 4th spot. And then 5th is James Cook. He's been splitting time with Devin Singletary a bit more. I trusted a little bit more, still sketchy. And then it's Jeff Wilson, Devin Singletary, and then one line with P. Ryan.
One P. Ryan line. There we go. BobbyWow, tournament thoughts for the running back position.
Yeah, look, I think everybody, after you get past these main guys, they're going to flock to James Cook, and I can understand why. I will be significantly overweight, and I mean significantly overweight, on both J.K. Dobbins and Jeff Wilson Jr. I think we've all gone around and been pretty clear in saying, look, we're not sold on Dalvin Cook and we're not sold on Joe Mixon. And to me, that says, okay, that opens up a ton of space for some of these lower owned guys. I think Jeff Wilson Jr. is going to put up more points than Joe Mixon. I really do. I think his pass catching ability is way underlooked. And so I think we could see a big score there. And J.K. Dobbins, the Ravens will have to let him carry the load. They just have to. They've got no other option with Huntley's shoulder being hurt. They can't throw the football. So if they're going to have any hope of staying close, it's because Dobbins is going to get a bunch of carries and targets. I really like Wilson and Dobbins a lot, like probably too much. But to me, with the uncertainty surrounding Cook and Mixon and even Barkley a little bit, those are my two guys, Geek.
I've watched enough 3-game slates and back tested enough of them to know that there's a really good chance it's going to be Wilson and Dobbins in the nuts lineup and none of those other guys. That's how these slates go down. Go look at past ones. That's consistent. Like, it's always when you're feeling sketch about the running back position, and especially then you're forced to go chalky. Remember, we had a Singletary 50% owned 3-gamer for Thanksgiving, and we were all like, wow, I can't believe I have to use 50% fucking Singletary. I haven't used him all year, and now he's in half my lineups. Like, when you're doing that, make a mental note to say, you know what? Wait a minute. Why the fuck am I going 50% Devin Singletary just because no one else looks good? Screw that. Let the rest of the field lose with this guy. Let's figure out somewhere else, something else.
Yeah.
So
what I like about what BobbyWow said too is that you're paying down, and that allows you to pay up at the wideout position. I love that. That makes so much sense.
It changes your lineup has Chase
JJ.
and Jefferson. Yeah.
JJ, Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, you get 2 of those because you don't have to waste that salary on some crappy running back who gets you 18. Now, the nice thing about it is Saquon Barkley can put up a 21 and be the highest scoring running back, but not be in the nuts because the other guys all put up 14s and 12s. Yes. But the salary difference allowed you to get a stud wide receiver in there that you could never have otherwise afforded. So that's that. Yeah, and that's what's up. Say, Esteban, this is the thing. Bills RB is fine, but we haven't seen evidence that the Bills, even in a blowout, go heavier run than they normally do. There's no evidence that they will do that. generally we know teams will lean on the run late in the game when they're ahead, but the Bills they might do that, but it's definitely not what they generally do in the regular season. They just keep throwing. So John Gary mentioned Ahmed. I do think Ahmed will be the backup running back for the Dolphins and will get carries, but I don't know that I want to go there. I think the backup running back on a team that's a massive underdog is probably not great. We want, it's the starter or nothing for me.
Wilson's cheap enough to where you don't have to think twice about it.
I mean, if you're MMEing, maybe you get a share or two of them in there just for.
You don't have to uncheck it.
Just because,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to uncheck it. All right, we mentioned some wide receivers, so let's talk about this wide receiver group on the slate. And it starts and ends with pretty much Justin Jefferson, and then who cares?
Everybody else, yeah.
Yeah. So Justin Jefferson absolutely torched the Giants. Look how ready this was, by the way. That's called production. Hosting and producing all in one. Justin Jefferson against the Giants. It was accidentally there. I didn't even know it was on the screen. I just clicked it. 34.3 fantasy points, 16 targets, 12 receptions, 133 yards. That's what he does. That's what he could be expected to do. Giants don't have an answer for Justin Jefferson. How heavy Justin Jefferson exposure is too much? Burns, what's too much?
That's a really good question because you can go 100% on him and he'll be fine. I don't know, man.
100 is probably a lot. It's probably too much.
Yeah, I would say 60 and below. I'll just say 60 and below, but I could go 100 on him because he's so freaking good.
He's the man. And again, teams lean on their studs in the playoffs. Although we've seen, if you remember the Bills last year, BobbyWow, they leaned on Gabriel Davis in the playoffs. Yeah. And everybody smoked the hopium all offseason. Then they drafted Gabriel Davis as a top 3, a top 15 wide receiver. Then they lost their fantasy league. And they were like, I smoked the hopium.
Score of my life.
I made a mistake. Wait, what did they do? Hold on. Give me a second.
Hopium.
Oh, so good. It feels good when you're smoking it. Man, but then it feels bad after.
Flipping the double bird in that? What's going on there? We need a more hopium picture.
It wasn't hopeful enough?
No, I need some more. I need more geek hope.
Dude, who'd you have do that picture of you, man?
Shane did that. Shane did. He put the. I don't know how it became a genie, like a little genie beard.
Nice.
But so the Bills don't always lean. On the studs, but other teams do. So obviously Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase. I love them all. When you're Danny Jones stacks, you can almost play all three. But there's
I don't know if I'm buying James though at 4th in the ownership. I don't know if I'm going to buy that.
Is it? Well, let me see where Hodgins. I mean, you have to look at these numbers are so close together. 25, 22. So let's not.
Cheapest.
Yeah, they're all kind of the same. Like 25%. The difference between 20 and 25 is these are projection models. That this doesn't actually tell the tale for sure. But there are some weird ones in here. Like, do I really need to have any exposure to Jalen Waddle at all?
So here's the thing. I had a take for the running backs. I think both Dolphin wide receivers will be overlooked. Why? Not because I know. Not because Skylar Thompson is good or promising or has any redeeming qualities. Sure, he's a great person. I'm talking about on the field. But here's the thing. The Dolphins will need to throw the football. The Bills are going to put up a bunch of points.
Yeah.
And I don't care if the Dolphins are down 35-0 at half. Tyreek Hill's not coming out of the game. Jalen Waddle's not coming out of the game. The Bills will be in prevent, and Skylar Thompson's going to be slinging it to both of those guys. I think the path to a good score for both of them, or at least either one of them, is actually a lot higher than most people are giving it credit for. Jalen Waddle at 20%, Tyreek Hill at 20%. I'm interested in being above the field on those guys as well. Not in the same lineup, but I'm interested in being above the field on both just because I think the path is there. It's more obvious than we give it credit for.
Yeah, I am so not down with that.
I don't think you're wrong on Hill, because I think right now most people are like, hey, I want to have at least some exposure, but typically by the time we hit Sunday, he ends up being dramatically under-owned. So I like the spot. I think you're right. I don't know about Waddle. It's a little bit harder for me to get there just because the targets haven't been as consistent for him over the last few weeks, but I like the spot. I agree.
You don't have $8K to waste on Tyreek Hill. Yeah, I mean, you got to click him over Jefferson. It's almost the same price. It's almost the same price as Chase. So, yeah, no one's going to own him. I don't even believe this ownership projection. I think it's going to be lower, Josiah. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think it'll be lower.
Yeah, it's going to be lower because this, the general assumption is the way that we optimize for a slate like this would be kind of like a level split. You set a max across the board and how it works out. And you get some exposure to some of these guys like Tyreek Hill. But the reality is, I mean, if you're handcrafting a lineup, BobbyWow, are you really going to click on Tyreek's name when Chase is there? T. Higgins is like way cheaper, thousands cheaper.
Is this tournament tactics, or are we talking, Cash City here?
No,
what
but
are we
even
doing?
you can get unique in a tournament by playing T. Higgins, who no one's playing. Like, that's unique enough. I don't know how. Do I have to get crazy? You know what? And I agree with you, Josiah. I think I'm more accepting of Tyreek Hill because he could probably take one to the house.
Yeah,
like some like three targets for Tyreek Hill. He could take a screen to the house. He could get one bomb. But, I don't really want to rely on Skylar Thompson's arm for anything. I just think you got to have strategic fades. You got to have strategic fades, BobbyWow.
Yeah, I just don't know that Tyreek Hill is a strategic fade in this instance. But
I
hear you.
If you're going heavy on running back and you're paying down on Dobbins and Wilson, you can pretty easily get all of them in. So you're still you still have BobbyWow, probably a lot of JJJ and a lot of Chase. But Hill just kind of is replacing maybe like a Dalvin Cook exposure for you or like a Joe Mixon exposure.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. A little something like that, I think. Yeah, and the chat loves Waddle. Waddle has not shown anything. I mean, Waddle hasn't done a whole lot when Tua wasn't the quarterback. So we'll see about all that. Burns, how are you looking at the wide receiver position for this one?
Are we looking at past a certain salary point?
So I mean, we talked about the stud group, and I think if we're ranking studs,
yeah,
for me it's Jefferson, Chase, Diggs in that order, right? I'd go in that order. Yep. Then Higgins, then Hill and Waddle as like GPP, if only for me. That's for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's fairly obvious stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm doing Jefferson, Diggs, Hill, Chase.
Okay,
and I'm also going a little heavier on Higgins for that reason.
That's some tournament thoughts. And
on the top end, I'm going Jefferson, Chase for those are my top two. They're going to lean on Chase. Cincinnati will this week. So it'll be Chase as my number 2, Diggs is my number 3, then Hill.
Do we have any care about Marlon Cheeto Humphrey maybe being assigned to not that he's been anything special this year, maybe pushing some extra targets over to
was
Higgins?
Last week. They were on him last week on Chase, and Chase still put up a pretty decent game against him. So I think the low-owned guy that could actually take the top off of the Miami defense is McKenzie this week. He's in the 12% range. If you need that lower price guy, I think he's the guy that could actually do it. He got targeted by Allen in that game, and I watched that game last week. He just dropped him. So he could be your Gabe Davis this year.
McKenzie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they did target Shakur in the end zone, so it just got dropped. It actually got defended pretty well. So
let's see what.
Those are a couple of guys that could actually be low salaried guys.
Check this out. And Swoop is given the insight. So McKenzie has not practiced.
Okay.
Thursday and now Friday officially not practiced. So I don't like that scene for his ability to play this weekend.
If he's out, Shakir should be like, you want him in your lineups.
And Cole Beasley.
Yes. And Cole
Beasley.
Yep.
Must be a Beasley. Hand me down helmet.
Cole knows how to operate that slot, and Allen could lean on him this week. So those are lower owned guys, that you shouldn't have like 50-60% of, but you should make sure that you're not unchecking them.
There's a math thing, Burns, that I've noticed. And
there's always a math thing.
There's a little Geek McMath moment here, guys.
Do you know everywhere you look in the world, it's math related, right?
There's math everywhere.
Slice is either triangular, rectangular, or square, right?
I know you see math everywhere, but there is a math phenomenon that I want to kind of bring up. And, in the back test stream, I kind of noticed this phenomenon. It was fascinating. There were occasions where, one of the studs was in the nuts. And I would be like, all right, let's cheat code this and lock in this stud and just like play it as if I played 100% and see what happens. And my scores actually didn't improve. And I'm like, well, how the fuck did this not get better? Locking a stud in every single lineup that I know was in the nuts. So reducing the number of variables, it should have, but it didn't. What I learned at that point was you got to lower your number of uniques when you do that because there's fewer. What ends up happening is the uniques become too high. But I also noticed another math phenomenon, and it goes like this. The cheaper players like a Khalil Shakir or a Cole Beasley, effectively for optimization and for running numbers and lineups, what would happen is the cheaper guys are so much more likely to be in the perfect lineup when they do hit that a better overall set of lineups involved going uncomfortably high on some of the cheaper turd plays. And it didn't really affect it all that much with the studs changing them around. Like that was not affecting the final scores as much as just like randomly going, taking all these 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, let's call it like your average, like 10% owned types, 5 to 10% owned, and going 20% on them. So on a slate like this, I'll just give you the names. These uncomfortable players, and and Beasley is in that. That's why I'm bringing this up. Not necessarily the zero owned guys, but this whole crew, like, actually we don't have much of that. Like DeMarcus Robinson at 10%, 12%. I can't play Sammy. I really don't like any of these people actually, but let's look at the running back version. But like, you know what I'm saying? Where you might go higher, weirdly higher on, these 4% or these lower owned situations, like Alexander Madison, like randomly you go 20% Madison, right? He's going to be 7%. You're just like, fuck it. I'm going over on that dude. And then obviously they don't hit, but when they do, it's like you win the whole thing and you crush the nuts every single time. So there's a math phenomenon that effectively the cheaper the player is, they're exponentially more likely to be in the nuts when they do pop off. So it's almost worth going uncomfortably high exposure on those guys and fading a little bit of the best plays at the highest ownerships, because realistically, they're going to be in like a lot of your lineups that like you don't gain. I didn't gain anything from going all in on this slate would be like a Saquon Barkley type. It gained very little from my lineups. Even if he did wind up being in the nuts play, like it didn't affect my final score enough where I was like, oh, wow, that's something you should be doing. What do you think of all that math?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to explain it mathematically. I mean, it's all driven by optimization within your lineups, right? The lower the salaried guys are the guys that actually lend to leading more and more lineups to winning the million makers versus your higher salaried guys. It's because they are the ones that once they hit that 10x, right? Like Mac Hollins did earlier this year, right? he hit the 10x. He was 3.2K. He had like 33 DraftKings points. If you didn't have him that week, you weren't winning that Million Maker line, that $20. Now you could win the 2K one because, maybe 1% of the people had him in that, right? But you're looking at the lower the salary guy that goes off, the better your chance to winning the Million Maker. It's because his salary lends him to allowing you to get more of the people, the players in your lineup that can go off. Your JJs, your Diggs, your Hills, Chase this week, right? So you need that guy. So a lot of people utilize the tight end for this, right? And this year we saw a lot of a change in the salary on the tight ends. We saw a lot of 3K guys in the tight end winning Million Maker lineups, whereas in the past we saw a lot of 4K guys. So there is a trend there that's starting to lean it more towards lower tight end salary position players because they're trying to fit as many of the higher priced guys that they really liked into their lineups. And we saw it with the defenses too at the 2K range. So it's all relative in how we make our lineups. It's roster. I hate to use roster. I'm going to say lineup construction. So
I think where you hit it, it's double that, right? It's the two factors. One being the 10x that you can get, where you can never get that of an expensive player. And so when they do pop off, it's so much leverage in your lineup, just like the Mac Hollins week. Yeah. Oh my God, I got a 10x on a guy. It's so much leverage in your lineup that if other people didn't play that guy, you are just lapping them. Whereas in this slate, for example, you might play Jefferson and he goes off for 35, but what if Chase goes off for 33 and Diggs has a 28? You didn't gain anything on the field. Like they all did pretty good. And so unless you played all three, you played two of the three, everybody else who kind of played two of the three kind of put up a similar score. And hey, where's your Mac Hollins play? So on that note, kind of going down to the zone of, potential 7-8x players, we got Gabe Davis, KJ Osborne, Thielen, Slate, and the Giants boys, Demarcus Robinson. So I'll go around the room and just, are there any out of this crew that you're kind of willing to go very much over the field on to get that tournament leverage? And I'll highlight the group here, as I don't think Isaiah McKenzie's going to play. And I'll start with you, Josiah. So of this sort of, look at that. By the way, look at the gap. You want to talk about why you're going to be leaving salary over? It goes 6K to 4,900, and there's just a gap in salary. This is why you can't X out tight ends for me. There are tight ends in that range, but like there's no wide receiver. Where are my 5K wide receivers? So you have to gap down from 6K, and it's really a gap down from 7,700. I mean, look at that, from Diggs to Davis, and there's only two players in between, and one of them is like a basically supreme turd situation, which really only leaves T. Higgins. Sorry, BobbyWow, he is a fucking turd. I listen, I rip on your stuff.
Wait. I can't wait for him to pop off.
You point at me, laugh at. I know you'll be in my DMs. I know it. DFS up north always gangs up. It's never just one.
It's an unfair fight.
Up north is in there too. He's like, Waddle. And I'm like,
my feelings are hurt, so I got to message in the 3-person chat. I can't just go to Geek. It's not enough.
It goes in the 3-person chat. And just DFS up north and Bobby just double teaming me. I told you. Fields. That's all season. So I admit that happens all the time. That's literally the story of my season. It's just BobbyWow and DFS up north saying your takes. Look, your take was wrong again. It was me. So that always happens. I will accept it, but I'm not playing wide receivers connected to Skylar Thompson.
That's fair.
But that said, so again, in this zone down here, who are you willing to go over on? Give me a 5X out of this group, and let's go across the board here. So Josiah, I'm starting with you. Put you on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I'm still figuring out exact numbers, but my two guys are probably Boyd and Robinson.
Okay, yeah, Robinson not going to be high owned at all. I promise you that. Boyd always going to be a shocker when he goes off, but he does it 2 or 3 times a year. BobbyWow, how about you?
I am in the exact same boat as Josiah. I like Robinson the most, and then just looking at this range, man, Boyd, you're right. He rarely goes off, but it feels like of all these names, he's got the highest possibility of going off.
So I'm kind of leaving the Giants guys out. They're going to be fairly chalk.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We are leaving out the kind of the Giants crew because I like all 3 of the Giants wide receivers. Don't have like a major preference, but I like all 3 of them, and I think I'm going to be using 2 of them in a lot of my lineups. Burns, how about you?
And we're just looking between Boyd to Trent Irwin.
I mean, you go all the way down to Trent Irwin. Here, Sammy Watkins is in the mix. I mean, include Khalil Shakir, Tupac, Beasley.
Yeah, at 2% or lower, I'd have Shakir in my lineup. I think he has the ability to get to 5x, especially if we're going to have iMac out this week.
Yeah, Beasley, Stoneman as well. For me, it's Gabriel Davis. At the top of the group. I think he'll be popular enough, but I keep going back to Gabe Davis.
I didn't know we could choose Gabe. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was like, was he included on the list?
Yeah. He's 20%. He's just 5K. So, all right. If we're going
Justin Jefferson.
It was just a 5K low. So it's not Thielen. I don't love Thielen here. But if we're going with the super, super cheap guys, yeah, there's not that much going on, and I can't even get behind Cole Beasley that much. I don't mind it. Khalil Shakir, I played him all year. So, yeah, I'd probably be on that group as well. Definitely nothing to do with the River, Craycraft, or any of this. Although I could see the one guy from the Bengals, Trenton Irwin.
Yeah. He saw some pretty serious target share there for the last 3 weeks of the season, 3-4 weeks of the season.
Yeah, he'll be in my player pool. I'll get 5 or 6% probably.
He's under 1%, right?
Yeah, he's super low. And so again, leveraging the field, you just need to be 4 or 5x for the super cheap low, like a 1% or you're 5, 6, 7, 8%. You are lapping the field if they're going off. So that's the way to go. Let's talk tight end. Tight end is really, really important this week, and it feels like a double tight end takes down the tournament scenario for me. Note that, listen, there's no wide receivers. The wide receiver group just dries up super fast, and I do think double tight end is going to be relevant. So let's go through these names. We already talked a little bit about Mark Andrews, but, I have to say that Mark Andrews didn't have the worst game ever with Tyler Huntley 2 weeks ago. And you know what? I got to give him props for helping lead one of my dynasty teams to a championship with the 17 fantasy points he put up in week 17. 100 yards, 9 out of 9 with Tyler Huntley. He's 5,200. Do I love the play? No. I hated it when I thought it was going to be Antonio Brown or Andrew Brown or whatever the hell that guy's name is. But now with Huntley back, I think he's got to be in the mix.
In Geek, we saw that last year when Huntley came in relief of Lamar last season. I think Josiah alluded to this too. The shoulder thing is scary with Huntley, but we've seen some legitimate chemistry with those guys before. So I think you're right on in pointing that out. We could definitely see it again. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
No one else to throw to, and there's just not that many great options for 5K. Like this, whoever these guys are, they're probably the best option. Like I would say TJ Hawkins is probably the best $5,100 player, or Josiah, you're nodding like Hawkinson. How do you not play him?
Yeah, I mean, remember that chart you had up earlier of all of the teams, and when you looked at the Giants, one of the worst positions they had was their tight end position. So like Hawkinson is looking nice this week.
Giants allowing 2 points above mean expectation to opposing tight ends, but I do have an interesting side note. I believe Irv Smith may be back.
Oh God,
he's back.
Is he back?
Man.
He's back. He had his first catch last week in a long time.
Yeah, Irv Smith is back. Does he cut into the Hawkinson, workload? I say no, but I don't know.
Burns just glazed over, so I want to hear what he has to say.
He heard about Irv Smith and he was like, "Oh man,
Yeah.
God, that sucks.
I don't know.
2,500 min salary.
It's not gonna affect my ownership in Hawkinson at all.
There you go.
He's gonna be a blocking tight end. That's about it.
Hayden Hurst, kind of a nondescript. Wait, did I miss a joke, Bobby? Wow?
No, I'm just getting Johnny Munt flashbacks to week 1 with Geek.
Johnny Munt scored a touchdown when I talked about him.
He did.
Uh-oh.
No, he did. I know. That's what's
I was in your DMs with you and DFS up north. Munt. You guys were so mad. It was awesome. So Hayden Hurst also back, expect 3 to 5 targets per usual. He's in the mix. You guys mentioned Danny Bellinger, another 3 to 5 targets guy during healthy games, but can spike a little bit.
Had a 2 touchdown game a couple weeks ago.
So I'm going to talk about your Skylar play, Bobby Wow, and your love for Skylar and his wide receivers.
We got to just clarify quick. Skylar play. I do not like Skylar in any way. I can't. He's terrible. He's a terrible quarterback.
That's what I'm saying. He's a fade that guy. But
volume.
He does throw to the tight end a lot. And Mike Gesicki finally got targets in his last game. Again, I don't love the scene one bit for anything to do with the Dolphins offense. But I do have to admit that Gesicki got targets more so. And also, he got 6 targets. Like, this guy gets thrown to in these games.
And he finds the end zone. He does this dumb little gritty. He somehow finds the end zone in these games too.
You know who does the gritty? Even Adam Schefter does a better gritty than this guy. Like,
that's
Adam
the most
Schefter,
disrespectful thing you could say to anybody, and it's true.
In his 50-plus-year-old glory, it's looking. He's got more rhythm than Mike Gesicki when he tries to do it. Gesicki looks like he's running for the bathroom when he does the giddy. I have that move too, but it's called I got to go to the bathroom. Where do I get the key? That's me stopping on the side of the road at the McDonald's, running in like what's that guy doing? Do you have the key? Around here, they have a key to the bathroom. They don't let just anybody in.
At McDonald's?
Anywhere.
They do. They only do that for gas stations around here.
Where do you guys live, man?
You live in a place where a stop at a gas station is literally a life or death situation. Like where you, that's why they better have a key.
Man, you stop at some of those Loves and like some of those truck stops, man. Oh shit.
The gas stations around here are nicer bathrooms than my house with my kids.
What?
Yeah, I don't know about the bathrooms, but I feel pretty safe. Like gas station, can leave it all on.
Keys.
Weird.
What the heck's going on?
Every time I go to a gas station, I feel like if it's not the one by my house, I pretty much assume 50-50 to survive this visit.
You guys need to move. Like New York is not it.
Yeah, you go in and you see the convenience store over there. That's a place where murder is likely to happen at any given moment.
You need one of those, and this is getting real off the rails here, but you need one of those urinals for the car. That's the way to do it. If you're going on a road trip, guys. Okay,
are those real?
We'll stop here
in the car.
I don't go into those gas stations. It's too risky. 50% chance, Geek. No, thank you.
You don't want to go into a murder. There's like if it's after 11 at night. That's strike one. Strike two. You have to go into the mini mart for some reason. Oh my God.
Go to Amazon, medical male urinal.
They're real.
You'll never leave the car again to go to the bathroom. I almost had to go potty.
You know how unlikely it is? I can hold it. I'll hold it. I'm still
I've never seen these in my life.
Go to the murder station. And then strike three is if you want to go into the bathroom. You got to go in the murder store, get the key. Now I got to go around the side in the murder alley. Who's waiting over there?
Well, they're judging you for not buying stuff at the store too.
No, I'm like, bro, I'm getting gas. I'm getting gas. Then you go in the bathroom. It hasn't been cleaned in years.
Is Trixie using it too? Her and Candy and all them?
No, never go to the bathroom at the gas station.
Those Josiah's lovers?
Never go there. I don't even know where we've gotten off the rails, guys. That's what. It's only 3 games. All right, let's talk about tight ends here. But don't go to bathroom murder stations. It's dangerous. Dawson Knox, not chalky. I'm telling you, it's going to be a tight end in the flex.
I like that call. I think that's interesting.
It's going to be a tight end. You'll Hawkinson, especially if Hawkinson like has a good game. It requires one of the more expensive guys kind of doing it, Hawkinson or Andrews, and then one of these turds. That like you want to win this week, figure out who to. It's Andrews or Hawkinson, and who. One of these guys is going to get like a 12 or a 14, and it's going to be enough. Burns, who's it going to be? You're the tight end whisperer. Which of these guys is it going to be?
The lower owned guys?
The cheaper. Listen, I know we all know about Hawkinson and Andrews. We're all very well familiar with them as being good. Then there's a whole crew here at 3K, 4K, 2,500. If you get the Durham Smythe pick right, you're going to win the tournament.
Oh yeah. I like Bellinger and I like Knox this week. I think those two are the lower owned guys that I think could have the potential to put your lineups in winning position. Especially with Knox, Miami is just dead. They're god awful against tight ends. So, make sure you have enough of him in your lineups. But
Dolphins bad versus tight ends.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And at 14%, and you go double that, you're in a good spot.
Okay.
If he goes off for 20 DraftKings points, you're good at 4K.
They're the actual worst team in the league against opposing tight ends. They're
and he should be the number 1 tight end on the freaking slate. No, but it's Mark Andrews who actually has a more difficult matchup. Which I don't understand why Mark Andrews is the highest projected owned guy on the slate with a more difficult matchup on the road where he's only actually done something against this team twice in his entire career on the road in the Bengal jungle. And it was both with Lamar Jackson. But now we're having Huntley throw to him.
Imagine when he was that chalky when we thought it was Andrew Brown.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like,
he probably would have been chalk last week if he was playing. But I mean, like, look at Dawson Knox. He's sitting there, 4K, 15% owned against the worst defense in the NFL against tight ends. Hello.
I like that call. And it's really hard for me to avoid Mark Andrews a little bit, but I've been on the Mark Andrews train more so this year than most. And the thought process is probably like, oh, yeah, Lamar's not playing, so he's going to need the simple throw to the tight end. But no, it just doesn't pan out. It hasn't panned out so far this year. So I'm kind of right there with you, Burns. Yeah. I usually follow your lead when it comes to tight end, and it makes a ton of sense once again.
Yeah, and I'm just going to summarize this where I don't, I think 26, 27% or the highest owned for Andrews is a little silly. But at the same time, I can't ignore that he did okay with Huntley last week. And or in his last game together with Huntley 2 weeks ago. And therefore, I'm okay with it, and I will play. I think you just got to mix them up. I don't want to go crazy, though. See, the difference is, on a normal slate like this, I actually think 26 is low. On a normal slate, if this was like regular quarterbacks instead of the backups, we'd be looking at 50%, 60% Mark Andrews, 70%, probably 50% ownership actual. So, the bump down for the shitty quarterback is there. Again, Hawkinson has been up and down all season. You don't want to go crazy. He doesn't have more than a 25% chance. Like even Hawkinson in the best matchup on the board, in terms of game environments, he doesn't have a more than 25% chance of like putting up a 15. He just doesn't always do that. And so, as much as you can't go all in on these types of players at all. You can never. Like Hawkins, let's just look what he normally does. This was a full game played last week, and he got a 2. Like this wasn't they weren't resting starters. Actually, were they? But I think they were resting starters. But like here against Green Bay,
a juggernaut. So
yeah, and the Bears defense is a juggernaut. Like what? like here's a full game against the Packers, week 17 must-win game. He gets you a 12. Here's important games that they needed to win. The team goes nuts for 39 points. He gets you 8. So Hawkinson is far from a lock button. They only play one quarter. No, but forget that one game, Kang. But I'm just saying, like, this dude in other games where they've absolutely needed to win, he's got a 12, he's got an 8, he's got a 12, he's got a 7 and a 15. I mean, this guy is far from locked in for getting you even 15 points, and you need 15 to 20 from a 5K player. I think he could get there, but I'm just saying he's far from a lock. So you don't want to have more than 20-25% of any of these guys. And the cheaper they are, the more forgiving that 12-point score is. So a 12 from Knox, and we're kind of like, all right, kind of okay. So
I'm with Burns 1,000%. I love that. I'll have way more Knox now. I think to your point though, Geek, there will be a lot of scenarios where you will have enough salary to pay for Dawson Knox or Hawk or Andrews. So you really can't convince me that if you're gonna have the option of those three guys, that you're really gonna jump to Dawson Knox over Andrews head to head. I get the matchup and everything. The ceiling though, and just the amount of targets that Andrews should see it's up there. I just the way his salaries work out, roster construction, I just think you'll have the option in a lot of your lineups. That's the only thing that's keeping me away from being really underweight on Mark Andrews.
Yeah, and for me, Knox also is very much a stack with Allen piece. One of the things that you're almost better just having him in your Josh Allen lineups. That specific player, he could definitely score that touchdown, but
4 weeks in a row.
That he's gotten touchdowns 4 weeks in a row.
That's wild.
There it is. So yeah, I mean, but a great stack. If you're, especially when you're stacking Josh Allen with 2, you can't. They can't always be like Diggs and who, or that kind of thing. So I like him in the mix for those stacks. But in general, I think you got to be a little bit higher on tight ends on the slate overall, and just let him. It could even be 2 non-Andrews or Hawkins. It's like we might get a Knox Hurst combo, something really weird, to try to take down this giant tournament that just is there. The incidence of 2 tight ends winning 3-game slates is something like 30%. Like, it is ridiculously high. It's much higher than what you would expect. It's a weirdly high number. And the other thing that comes up a lot, which I don't think I'm going to do on this one, but just kind of some tournament leverage stuff, because as we get away from the tight end position, just kind of talk a little overall. 2 running backs from the same team weirdly wins these types of things very frequently, like way higher than it should. I don't know why, but are there any teams here where we could be like a Singletary Cook? Is that even in the realm of acceptable?
Oh man,
P. Ryan Mixon.
That's probably the most to me. I just don't know why you don't have to.
Yeah, I am thinking for the my head's still on the Saturday slate where I was like interested in McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell in the same lineup quite a bit. Like that was a fun combo on Saturday. I'm just not feeling it for these guys.
Yeah.
Not saying to do with all your lineups, but if you go Dobbins and Wilson, you will be unique. Mm-hmm. You will be unique. I'd much rather do that than try and squeeze 2 of the same team running backs in.
I like that Dobbins and Wilson combo as well. I love being different at running back on these types of 3 gamers when everybody feels obligated to play Joe Mixon, who we would never play in this spot in the regular season, but all of a sudden now he's going to be 40% owned. And we would not play him in this matchup. The Ravens are not the matchup where you want to load up on a running back. Again, the Ravens are that team that's good against the run relative to the pass. Like, you throw against the Ravens, you don't run against them. So it's those spots where you're kind of like, huh.
Good way of getting different.
Let's talk defense real quick, guys, and then we'll wrap it up. So I'm going to say right off the bat, I like the Bills and the Bengals.
Is there a reason to not play the Bills defense like a crap ton? That's my question.
It's not a good reasoning. It's not a good reasoning, but The Bengals too. That's the other reasoning. It's like the Bengals are also at home, and they're facing a guy who's not very good. So, but beyond that, like, yeah, I don't think they're owned enough, other than the price. But the pricing's not even that crazy. Like, you can't really play Dolphins. Ravens, I guess, are fine.
Ravens are the only acceptable pay down to me.
Yeah.
I kind of like the Ravens a little bit if you want to get cheap, but they're not. Yeah, you're right. They're not that much cheaper.
Not that much savings. It's 700, 800 difference between the Ravens and the Bills. It's not like they priced the Bills at 4K, which they should have. But on DraftKings, then it burns. Thoughts here? Do we just load up on Bills, the heavy favorites?
They're not even the highest owned or highest salaried defense, so they're going to be more owned than anybody else.
They probably salaried this before they realized that Tua wasn't going to play. People, like, early in the week, like, I bet these games. I remember I put out a message in my channel in the DFS Army Discord. I was like, guys, I have a feeling that Tua is not going to play, and I'm going to hammer a bet on. And it was -7 at the time, and now it's like -9. So the line definitely moved. So the field was not sure that Tua was not going to play.
Yeah, I like the Bills. I obviously like the Bengals this week. Those are two really good defenses this week. The low owned guy. I don't know if I'm going to get to Miami or not. Just trying to look at these ownership percentages here. The two that stick out to me as two defenses that are going to go overlooked. I really like the Giants in this matchup. I think they could actually be there in the end. Where we're not talking about. I know the Indianapolis Colts hit that one dead nuts. I'm not talking about another one of those. We're talking about defenses that are probably going to score between 0 and 12 points this week. And I think the Giants can get around 7, 8 points and win you this and be the winning defense. The other one I think that could actually do it is the Ravens. In this matchup, I think they could actually be in and around the 5 to 10 point range here. So that's where I'm going to reside my ownership in the lower salaried defenses.
Maybe match up the Ravens with J.K. Dobbins in Ravens actually make a game of it, type of thought process for some lineups where, the only way J.K. Dobbins is scoring is if the Ravens like have at least some level of actual respectable offense. I think they can do it. Again, I'm still adjusting my mind frame from thinking it was going to be Brown at quarterback up until about, the last 24 hours where I started to shift. I definitely thought it was going to be Brown. I was betting this game assuming it was going to be Brown. So now I'm less loving that as well. I don't like that Huntley's playing. It adds an uncertainty to me. I was ready to full fade Andrews. I was ready to full fade this whole thing. And unfortunately, with Huntley in there, now you can't really full fade it. So, and that brings the defense to life as well. It's like, wow, the defense is playing well. Oh shit, Dobbins just scored. Oh my gosh, how is it 7-10 Ravens winning in the third quarter? What's going on here? You know what I'm saying? Like, that could go down this way, and maybe the defense dominates. What do you say, BobbyWow?
Yeah, I'm with you all the way on that. I think. Sorry, my kids were yelling in the background. I see a path to that for sure. I think the Ravens are, like I said, they're my favorite pay down, and it's a 3-game slate. We can't emphasize that enough. Like, don't X these teams out. You want exposure to all of them.
No Dolphins. No, X them out.
Okay, except the even then, like, I don't know.
You need them in your player pool.
Strategic.
I don't X anybody. I don't X any defense out. I don't.
X it out. Strategic fade.
I'm surprised the Bengals aren't the highest owned defense right now because they put 19 DraftKings points up on this Ravens team.
Yeah, but that was the team that was with Andrew Brown.
Yeah, but Huntley ain't much better.
He's definitely better. Andrew Brown is like beyond bad. Huntley has played NFL games.
I know, but I haven't seen much better.
Arm is good. If Huntley's arm is good,
but he's got the shoulder problems too, the injury. So
you hit him wrong one time, you might barely be able to throw, and then interception city. You never know.
All right, here's what we're going to leave it with. Number 1, stay away from the murder stations after 11 p.m. If you need gas, stop. If you need cigarettes, stop smoking cigarettes. Enough with that. 2. Seriously, enough with the
Go to the bathroom, get the urinal.
Go before you leave. Get the car urinal. Bobby Wow is going to
urinal.
the description.
Stamp of approval.
The link is in the description
Link
below.
in Geek's chat. Make sure you sign up if you're not already.
Link to Amazon. We got our Amazon sponsorship finally. We're selling urinals.
About time.
Vehicular urinals. Turd hat link in the description below. Guys, we got a fun slate on Sunday. We've got a big one for Saturday. If you're with DFS Army, I already did a breakdown for the 2-game slate, VIP only, exclusive. If you want to check that out and you're not in DFS Army, I'm going to show you a trick to get into DFS Army for free. This is for people who stuck around. See this button right here? You're going to click it, right? It's going to show you a bunch of beautiful sponsors. Points, Thrive, Fantasy, Underdog, Prize Picks, Monkey Knife Fight, whatever you like. Instead of paying DFS Army the money, you go there, you sign up, you follow the instructions here, sign up for Prize Picks, Monkey Knife Fight, Owner's Box, whatever. Follow the instructions, $20 deposit. You could play it. You're not giving me money. You play it. I suggest Prize Picks. They're the funnest format, and we have a tool for that. An awesome Prize Picks tool and an incredible leader of the Prize Picks team giving out plays all day. Will Lynn, he's the man. You guys notice, by the way, how good Will Lynn is?
Good. So good.
He is like
every sport too. Like
he's a really just generally sharp guy, but the prop stuff, he's so good at it. He's really putting a lot of effort. He like basically took he graduated. He's got some MIT level education. Yeah, he's like working for a big time hedge fund type stuff. He's like one of these geniuses. But
is he a quant? Is he a quant?
He's like a quantitative analyst. Yeah, he's got all that going on, and he's just applying that and coming up with these plays. You got to check out the Prize Picks. There's a channel in our Discord, but it gets you a free month of DFS Army as well, and you can see what's up. You don't have to pay us anything. You just make a deposit on Prize Picks, play it, gamble it, win more, listen to Will in. It's a no-brainer. So make sure you do that. Check out DFS Army. We're going into the playoffs. It's good times. We are back testing. We've got techniques for the optimizer, and I went over that in the Players Club 2-game slate breakdown. We really talked about some of the options and approaches to the optimizer, the best way to use it universally that kind of produces good results time and time again. You guys should see, you'd be sick. Last week, I did the 2-game slate or the 3-gamer from last week, set 1, 2, 3 basic options and blew away the nut score. I'm like, I dicked around with this Dom station for 4 or 5 hours. And I just reset settings, QB +2, hit go, and that wins.
Don't uncheck anybody this week. Keep everybody checked.
No unfriending?
No unfriending. Don't even unfriend Skylar Thompson.
I'm
Just
unfriending.
let it happen.
I'm unfriending him. Not wasting lineups on Skylar. No wasted lineups.
I'm just saying, you probably won't even get any lineups of him.
Yeah. You're right. You probably won't.
To force them.
Yeah, and that'll do it for Tournament Tactics, guys. Another great one. We'll be back next time, as always. For Josiah, for Burns, for myself, for Bobby Millions. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for hanging out.
Deuces.